I want to dispel a myth that is being peddled on social media by some higher level guys, actually, two guys that I follow, Grant Cardone and GaryVee, are talking a lot about how you shouldn't own a primary residence and you should only own investment properties and income producing properties, which I understand what they're saying. Like, if you own a primary residence, you don't have rental income coming in on that residence. So you've got this asset where you could potentially be bringing income in, and you're foregoing that income by living in the property yourself. And you could be generating additional income if you rented it instead. And so what Grant Cardone suggests is that you don't own a primary residence, that you rent your primary residence and you only own investment properties. And I just don't. There's several things that I disagree with that on. Number one, we pulled some stats from MBS Highway, and according to MBS Highway, if you look at the top 50% of wealthiest Americans in the country, so this is all the way up to the 1% wealthiest people in the country by net worth. They have over $10 million net worth. Of the top 50% wealthiest U.S. households, 65% of their wealth is made up from primary residence real estate equity. So when you own a primary residence, for the average American, and in fact, the top 50% wealthiest Americans, it makes up 2/3 of their total net worth. So if the wealthiest people in the country have 2/3 of their net worth tied up in their primary residence, that right there tells you it's probably a good idea to own a primary residence. But the other thing that I just don't understand, and I don't agree with what Grant Cardone is talking about, renting a primary residence, not owning it. Well, if I took my Chandler house, for example, I think my house in Chandler could rent for around 8,000 or 9,000 a month, maybe 10,000 a month. So that's great. That's $10,000 a month in income I could bring in if I moved out of my Chandler home and rented it out, and that would more than double my mortgage payment. But then I'd have to turn around and go rent a place for $10,000 a month. So the money that I'm bringing in rental income, I'm just sending out the back door, renting a primary residence. So that just doesn't make a lot of sense to me. And then I've got a family, and we have kids. And so when we live in a primary residence, we have a stable home environment for our kids. And moving around every year, having 1-year leases and having to pick up my family and move just doesn't make any sense. So buying a primary residence is one of the greatest wealth generators for the 50% of the wealthiest people in the country. So if it's working for them, then you should probably do it as well, because the proof is in the numbers.